Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Thirsty Thursday live stream. I hope everyone's having a good day, having a good week, almost a weekend, so we should all be excited. So I just want to say thank you for everyone we hit 86,000 subscribers this week, so I'm super thrilled. So thank you so much. So who we have today is a special friend of mine. This kid only been in IT for almost a year, not even, and we're going to talk about all the fun stuff that he's learned since he started getting his feet wet in the world of cybersecurity these days. And yeah, so we're going to bring in Big D. Devin, how's it going,
What's up,
man?
buddy? What's up?
How's everything?
I know, hanging in there, living the dream.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so, obviously, I know what's up. I know what you've been up to. And for those folks that don't know who you are, what you're about, what you're up to, give a little bit of a backstory.
Yeah, so I recently, I guess, coming up the end of this month, right after Memorial Day, will be my 1 year anniversary being in the IT field. Started with an MSP, started working there just tier one, no experience other than stuff that I'd done in my own home lab and, hack the box, try hack me, that type of stuff. But my first initial job was just the basic tier one support help desk type role. Learned a lot there, realized I didn't know a lot as well. Getting into it, yeah, I could go in and do some stuff in Active Directory and configure a group policy and reset an account or create an account and do all this. And, it even played around with, spinning up a 365 tenant and creating roles, permissions, whatever, little basic stuff in there. But when you get into like the actual enterprise level or a SMB level of it, there's so much more that goes in on the back end and little nuances. Different clients do things differently. Just a lot of different stuff there. A lot more than what I thought, but it was a good experience. I learned a lot. Started moving into about 6 or 8 months into it, I guess I should say. Probably about 6 months into it, I started dipping my toes into like cybersecurity side of things, looking at the SIM SOC stuff for us, triaging alerts there, going through investigating, impossible travel, that normal type of stuff, just basic stuff. And then so I've kind of moved into other stuff. I'm doing, we have a penetration testing method that we do. It's more of an automated one, not like a full-blown pen test vulnerability scan. I'm kind of configuring that, setting it all up, scheduling it, going through the remediation, doing that. I'm doing a lot more on like the network operation side of things too. Just it's kind of snowballed. I went from tier one, then got moved into tier two pretty quick. I think like 3 months in, I got moved up to that, somewhere right around there to tier two. And then, a few months later is really when I moved into the security and network side of things. And that's kind of what I've been doing for the past couple months now.
Nice. And for those, hello, everyone. Hey, Fernando, Eric, Nick, Nicole, Robert. Hopefully you're, I'm sorry to hear that you're having some health issues. Yeah. Hope all is well, dude. Remember, health is first. Fuck us.
Sure.
But so to talk about like, your journey into, cyber and into IT, for those that are trying to get into the world of IT, especially cyber, because a lot of my viewers and a lot of people are into cyber. Do you feel as though getting into that tier one, getting into the MSP world, because I always tell people start out at an MSP because you get to tinker with so many different avenues of technology versus saying, okay, I'm an in-house level one person and I'm just talking to the same folks every day and all that stuff. And, it's the same repetitive thing. You don't, same network, same flat network, or whatever the case may be, same tools, etc. But when you get into the MSP world, now we can have, okay, whatever, Sonic Wall, maybe there's FloridaNet, maybe there's Cisco, maybe there's Ubiquiti, Meraki, Sophos, all these different kinds of technologies out there. And then maybe one client is configured with, for example, Cisco, one's Ubiquiti, one's Cisco, or one's Sonic Wall, etc. So do you find it, I know you really have no comparison because you haven't worked in-house in an IT, but just like the thought of like, okay, pretend like you're probably always tech support for your family, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you think about that versus, what you're doing today, do you find it as like it was super useful to get that? I know the answer. I always recommend people getting into the world of MSPs. And then, I always feel, don't get me wrong, any MSP out there, even including, the one we're talking about, a lot of people use it as a stepping stone, right? This is where we're going to begin. And, if you stay there forever, God rest your soul. But usually that's a stepping stone for a lot of folks. And then they say, okay, I got my experience, and now I'm going to move on to, I guess, bigger and better things, for an example. But what is your thoughts on that, and what would be your recommendation for those who want to be like you?
Yeah, no. So I agree 100% with what you said. None of them are the same. We try to, implement best practices and processes to align all of the clients to be as similar as possible. And some things are very much the same, how we configure, say, a firewall, if it's Sonic Wall, whatever it may be. But we do have clients that have other legacy stuff that they already had contracts with their licenses before they came on to us, and there's just no sense in them getting out of that. So you do get your hands-on experience with that. And then, and everybody's a little bit different. People need different permissions to do different things. You always manage by exception, and you have to make those certain exceptions depending on what the use cases are for those. So you do get that getting outside the realm a little bit, bouncing back around, where if you're just a in-house IT support, you learn pretty much everything there is to know about it as being the help desk support or whatever there, but you only know that. So say that was your first job and you got in there. Well, yeah, you may know Cisco really, really well and Windows Active Directory, but they may have only had an on-prem. They didn't have anything in Azure. They may not have had a hybrid. So like we have on-prem, we have hybrid, Azure and on-prem, the IntraSync. We have, solely just Azure. So we have a mix of all those things. So you're learning all those different things and how they work and how they interact with each other and the issues that come up with those and all that stuff. So yeah, an MSP is great. The one thing I would say for anybody that's doing that, you have to be able to adapt quickly because it's kind of very, very fast paced. You finish, there's always all kinds of issues. You got them coming from all different directions. You may jump from one client that is using Google workspace for most of their stuff, and then the next ticket you may be somebody that's using Microsoft. Typically most of ours are Microsoft, but we have a few that are Google. It's few and far between, but we do have a few clients that do use Google. So being able to jump back and forth for that, being able to be in a high pace environment, it's very, very quick. When you get done with one, you're jumping on to another, and so on and so forth all the way throughout the day. So you have to be prepared for that. But it will absolutely, it's probably 4x the value of working at an in-house place. You're going to learn 4 times as much within the same amount of time being at an MSP than you would at an in-house place.
Yeah.
What you were saying.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And that's why, because I've done it both. I've done in-house, I've done MSP, I've done consulting. I worked for KPMG. I worked for, so many different little companies. And then, now I can say this because I'm not there anymore, as big as Meta, right? I was working for Meta for many years, or a few years, but I just don't talk about it. But now people may know. But yeah, so like the fast pace, yeah, you have to be on your toes, and
Sure.
And that's not for everyone, right? That's not for everyone. So don't go into an MSP, and then we'll get into, if you guys have questions, if you're tuning in now, like throw it in the chat and we'll get to it. We usually will leave 15, 20 minutes. I have a hard stop at 8:00 tonight because the Rangers are playing, and they're playing right now. So I'm already missing it for this. So
can't miss them Rangers.
Yeah. So exactly. Fucking Rangers. They better win tonight. But, that's why I'm not even wearing my Ranger hat, because I think that's bad luck. So I just threw on a different hat today. But so if you guys have any questions, just throw it in the chat and we'll get to it at the end. But yeah, so I think I was saying about the whole transitioning to, MSPs aren't for everyone, right? And if you're used to getting, sitting back, waiting for shit to break, or waiting for a new user to be set up, because we hired someone in HR yesterday and we just set them up and deploy it and then get them all their apps and blah blah blah. And remember, this is only going for like if you're a help desk person, right? So now we can talk more about what you're doing now. For an example, So you were level 1, level 2 in 3 months, and now you're doing SOC knock, doing a lot more cybersecurity
Yep.
compliance, CMMC, all the
Mhm.
stuff that we're working on. So how do you feel the transition to get more into, this is what this episode's all about, right? Getting your feet
Yeah.
wet into
Yeah,
cyber.
for sure.
So getting your feet wet into real cyber, not just us hacking a box and doing some
Right.
reconnaissance OSINT at night, fucking around, right? So it's like now you're really in the the nitty gritty of it, like in the
Mhm.
weeds. So how do you feel going from help desk, doing like your day to day, like Fernando made a comment in the thing about QuickBooks, right? Our favorite.
Yeah.
So like QuickBooks, going from QuickBooks now doing, I'm not going to disclose the tools that they use because I don't want to do that. But like from the tools that you're using today,
Yeah.
how do you think that transition has been? And yeah,
So it was good. I kind of the transition was kind of somewhat slow. They kind of moved me into it where I was still taking regular tickets and then slowly working on some of the things as we were building out and adding more to the stack and kind of refining some of the stuff that was there, because that's the big focus is, okay, we really need to dive deeper into the cybersecurity, wanting to help clients. So we started having clients ask us about, CMMC compliance and all that stuff, and basically what I've kind of done is we already had some best practices kind of laid out, like this is what we do, but nothing really defined. So I've been kind of jumping into that, and I kind of go back to the beginning of my MSP days, like along the lines of setting up basic accounts and stuff like that with the security side of things too. I was like, okay, I got a pretty good idea what's going on here, and then you actually get your hands on it and you're like, okay, I don't know shit. So you go in there until you're constantly learning, and that's the thing. Like I have a pretty good idea and understanding of it, and okay, I know where I need to get to, but the steps to get there is a lot of research.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key thing, is just being able to research that stuff, look into it, find out what's going to be the best fit, and then a lot of testing. So a lot of stuff was pushing out BitLocker deployment for a lot of things, and that was a lot of testing because it was to a lot of clients over a domain and not just on individual devices. So setting up all those group policies and building that out and doing the testing, and then a lot of it, again, like I said, is that documentation for the CMMC compliance to have our best practices that going forward, not only just for this particular client that we're working on, but also so we have kind of a baseline for any clients going forward. Like now, hey, we're setting every time we onboard a client, they're onboarded with this structure. So this is their 365 settings that we go through, and we configure everything here so they comply and check that box of the 110 whatever they call them. Yeah, the 110 controls, and for like NIST or whatever.
NIST,
We're doing the 110 controls in NIST. Just doing that across the board on everything and making sure we're covered and being ready for it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's again, like I said, it's been a learning curve, but it's fun. It's and I like being challenged and stuff like that. So getting back into that, okay, I got to learn something new. I got to go down this rabbit hole and research this. So what's going to be the best way, and then implementing it in a test environment and testing that, and then bringing it to life and actually seeing it deployed and working.
Yeah. No, facts. That's definitely some good stuff. So, I think the last time, I don't know if you did or you didn't. I don't remember. Did you have your A+ when we spoke last time?
I don't remember if I did or not. Maybe I don't think so. I don't think so.
So, since it is more like the MSP help desk type world, do you feel as though, because I haven't taken my A+ since 2006, right? I took my A+ 2006. So from your A+, do you feel as though, okay, before you took it, because you were working where you're at, and you didn't have an A+, when you got your A+, right, do you feel as though like that helped you in your career, helped you in your job, or with your knowledge? Or do you feel like, okay, you already knew that? And the reason why I'm asking is, like, do you feel as though you did it because in your uni, in your college, it's a part of the curriculum, right?
Exactly.
So, and I want to ask you this live on camera: if you weren't in college, would you go for your A+?
No.
You think? Okay.
No.
Yeah. So why not? Like, why?
I think that there's some knowledge there that's good, but for the most part, like I knew a lot of it. Like it's a lot of talking about the components. There's a few things there, and I learned a lot, but all that I've learned, I haven't really used. So it's like real into the weeds, deep down stuff, talking about like repairing printers. And there may be some use cases that you may use it. And again, there is some good things in there that I did use, but it's only a small amount. And I feel like, yeah, you should have the knowledge, but I don't think you necessarily need to have the cert. I would say, if anything, start with like the Network Plus, because that's another one that I'm going through as well. And I'm definitely learning a lot more stuff that I didn't know there that will be useful. So the A plus, I feel like you definitely need to know the knowledge, but I don't think the cert's viable unless, again, like the college that I'm going to gives me these certifications to take. It's part of like, okay, you get this certification, you pass that class, that's your credit for that class. So it makes sense. Or if your company is going to pay for it, absolutely take it, because it's just another certification that you can have. But to have it, you don't necessarily need it. You can show that knowledge. Again, I didn't have it when I started the job that I have now. Didn't need to have it. Showed that I knew a little bit about a computer. And yeah, for a tier 1, I don't think it's important to know, but it's definitely, it's not going to hurt if you get it.
So, okay. So working at an MSP, since it's the first position that you've gotten, where do you feel as though like someone that's new in the field was the biggest challenge to overcome? Like working at MSP, like what has been like, fuck, dude, like this shit is, it's a challenge, but you overcame it, but it's like something that maybe you weren't expecting.
So I would say, like, honestly, the biggest challenge for me would be understanding the clients. So understanding how to navigate like the documentation for the clients, the procedures we have set in place, how this one gets onboarded, how everything works inside there. And I think that's an MSP type thing, because if you're an on-prem or in-house IT, you got one way. That's it. You figure it out real quick. It's no big deal. But when you have 20 or 30 clients that do things, everybody does it a little bit different, submits their requests different, has different, people that approve, has different applications and stuff. So having to learn the intricacies of all these little bitty applications and how to troubleshoot and all this stuff. Like, we have good documentation for it, but again, we have so much documentation that it can be hard to navigate if you don't know what you're looking for. Facts. So I would say the biggest thing, like, we use IT Glue. I don't think that's any big secret. A lot of people use IT Glue, so I don't think I'm disclosing any NDA information here. But navigating that and finding it, and it's organized pretty well. Like, most everything's laid out pretty good, but there's still some stuff that, like, I still will take 5 minutes sometimes to search for stuff. I think that's the biggest thing out of all the technology type things. Everything else I could search for, and yeah, that would probably be the trickiest part.
Yeah, and I agree. Because that's the technical aspect. And one thing I'll add on to that from the MSP's point of view that you may not have all right, let me rephrase this. Maybe you have like a ticketing system to keep track of your tickets. Maybe you have, an ITSM, you have maybe ServiceNow, whatever, people using in-house, right? So it's like having a ticket for every single thing and then documenting every single thing. That would be something that drives me up the fucking wazoo, right? Because I come from, a background, especially in pen testing, it's still different. But like, if you're working, you do your job, you let the user know, hey, you can access this, have, take a hike, thank you. Now, so that's another, hurdle. Like, if you're looking to get into the MSP world, folks, like, be prepared to, like you said, navigate, around IT Glue, whatever documentation tool that you utilize. Second, like, be prepared to fucking cross your I's and dot your T's,
and just,
because it's a challenge. It's a challenge for a lot of people. And it's like, especially if you're just so technical, right? Like myself, right? I just want to go in there, do my thing, and that's it. Like, and I don't really care I guess in the sense, like, yeah, I do care, but I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, if I want to go next, like, for an example, like giving, we'll say this, like, say, for example, there's CyberFox. CyberFox is an access management tool. I want to bring that one up because that has no ties to anywhere any place that I'm at. So CyberFox is a access management. What is access management? That means, like, we manage what you have on your local machine. So if you open up command prompt, if you execute a file, you get that UAC. But now, if you're tech savvy, you can bypass a UAC, right? It's pretty easy to bypass that. If you're a hacker, you pretty much know what that is, and it's called privilege escalation, right? But like, if you're, and how you can do that is pretty simple. But you can see what processes are running as a system authority, and then you can embed a process into PID, and you can run that process as that. So now, if you have an application like, I think it's CyberFox or something like, now you have to get someone or get the company to allow that. So now you're getting tickets, like tickets from Joe Blow, the user that's working at McDonald's, that's trying to run something, and now you as an MSP have to authorize that. So that can be another pain in the butt. You know what I mean? It's like, and even for yourself, at times, like, if you're trying to run something, and if you're tech savvy, like, why are you doing this? Like, I need to have this stuff on my machine, so let me just do it, right? But but there's obviously ways around it, but there's that, in that world. So the moral of everything is, like, if you're used to your in-house, IT type role, transitioning to the MSP world can be a little challenging. And that's why I think a lot of people that work in MSPs, like, there's people that I know and I worked with in MSPs prior that stay, they go more into like maybe a bigger MSP, but they have that like consulting lifestyle. They can't sit in house and like doing the same thing over and over again. Right. So there's that. And obviously in the consulting world, it's speed, right? It's all about, changing and understanding, there's always change. So yeah, if there's anything you wanted to add on that, if I missed anything.
I agree. Like with the documentation as well, because everything's based on, okay, how much time, they look at it at the end of the month, how much time was spent on this client, or, and they break all that stuff down. Because in an MSP, they're set on contracts and, okay, are we getting the value out of this client? Is there something here that's causing an issue? There's a lot of stuff, that you have to look at, that they have to look at and focus on their end to see, okay, is this, not to be an asshole or anything, but is this client, more hassle than they're worth? Are we charging them enough money for the issues that they bring because they don't want to implement this, or they don't want to, we're doing these quarterly reviews with them and they're not taking the advice and it's causing all these issues, so that's why they want that documentation. But yeah, for sure, I forget all the time still to do documentation stuff, like when I'm forgetting to leave a note or I don't do it the right way or whatever like that. So it's definitely a lot different. And again, when you're in house, it's not as important. You're just, there's no one to bill. It's just, okay, you're doing what you need to be doing. You made sure the client or the end user there was good. This is more, hey, making sure they track time that goes to this client and this client and this client, all that stuff. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, sounds good. So now enough with the MSP type stuff. Sure. Now we'll get into some cyber shit. So
there we go.
Now, like, you said you were touching on some of the tools and some of the stuff that you're doing. Mm-hmm. And so what is the future, look, like, what is something that you would like to do, like, in the future, if it's, where you're at now, where you want to be? Just say where you're at now. I don't want to tie it to a specific place. I just want to say, like, in general. And I'll talk about the same thing. Like, I'll talk about what I want to do and where I see the future. But like, do you want to stay? Because you're doing a lot more. You're doing like purple teams type stuff, right? You're
exactly
triaging some stuff. You're doing some of the blue team. You're doing some of the defenses. You're putting defensive measures, policies, procedures, and etc. Maybe some GRC, even some touching on some dabbling in that shit. And now, then you're doing some automated pen tests. You're doing some vuln scans, etc. So that's a little bit on the, the red side, if you want to say. Sure. So I guess, like, since you're touching it all, which is super cool because not a lot of people get to do that. Where has been your favorite, and what does the future look like? Where do you want to be?
So I always like the offensive side. It's still fun, cracking in and doing that type of stuff. Again, that's what everybody wants to do. There's just not that many jobs out there. And I found that I do like the blue team side of things too, like digging into, and it's given me a better understanding again of the red team side of things. So I would probably stay on like this whole blue team side for a little while, just because I think I'm getting a better understanding of the red team side. Like, okay, now I'm like, this person got compromised. How did they get in? I'm digging down into it. I'm seeing the exact, indicators of compromise, digging deep down into that. I think that's really, really cool. Like learning about that. Although whenever I do the pen test, again, I'm not manually doing the pen test, but I'm seeing, okay, this is exactly how they got there when those reports come in. This is the enumeration process. This is what they can get, X, Y, and Z IP address. Lets me go over here to A, B, and C. And then, from there I can do this, and it gives all that. So understanding that and then putting in the remediations for that as well, it is pretty cool, which is more, I guess. So I guess it's kind of, I'm doing a lot, I'm doing the remediation, I'm doing a lot of the administration and all that stuff there by implementing the fixes for it. I'm seeing the red team side of things and how things are getting compromised, and then, the blue team side of stuff. But I would say, like I said, the blue team, or I guess more purple team, kind of like what I'm doing. I really like that, where I'm getting to see a little bit of everything. And being in the MSP, I think is really the only place that you get to do a whole lot more purple teaming, when someone kind of encompasses everything as a whole. Like an internal house, typically they bring in an outside party to do the red team side of things, and then they have their blue team that's internally, and they're going up against each other. That makes that purple team, and then they talk back and forth and communicate. I'm kind of doing both things. I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. How is our SOC picking this up? Okay, I just pushed out this pen test. Did it catch anything? Anything going on here? Are we seeing anything? Are we getting any logs? Is anything showing up? How can I tune it to make it work? What can I, make a change to prevent them from being able to do this type of stuff?
Yeah, no, I think that's so true what you said. And like, if you're an in-house blue team or a security engineer working in SecOps, the only way you're going to do some kind of purple team is if you have some kind of tabletop exercises that you're utilizing. Maybe someone like, someone that knows some, a little like me. I know a little bit about the world of offensive security, right? So like, if I'm on a blue team on a SecOps, now I can say I can leverage what we are, say, for example, we're using CrowdStrike. Maybe we're using some threat intel like Recorded Future, Armis, whatever kind of intel. And now I can say, okay, since I'm on the blue team, but I know some red teaming, now I can utilize that skill set to test what we have in-house. And this is something that, we'll talk offline, that I want to build out, have, a Kali machine inside of an environment. And like, okay, like not just, this automated thing, a real box that, okay, we want to, we're going to test, our company that we're, that these people are paying, X amount of dollars for their MSSP services. What are they actually testing? If I'm in there, if I'm compromised and I'm dumping hashes left and right, and no one knows what I'm doing, and this is not getting caught, or if I'm, doing some other stuff in an environment, now we should be leveraging that, and having that skill set on in-house is definitely key, because now it's like, okay, we have someone like Devin, and then someone like myself, for an example, we can, have those separation duties, whatever that word, and now we can have, that not cat and mouse game, but it really, really tests everything, instead of like, okay, that's like a cop and a thief, right? So it's like, you're going to pen test, but you already know what you're pen testing, and you know how to remediate what you're testing. So that really defeats what it's really doing, right? It's like,
right, which is why they bring in those outside third parties to do it.
Exactly. That's why, like, and if someone's looking for a pen test or whatever, you can hit me up and I can talk to you more about that. So, if you want a pen test, and then, we can, as a consulting firm or whatever, we can pen test your organization and, test that, that IT manager, or, the system admins, or if you have a little security team, to test the measures that they put in place to say that you're protected every day, right? Because trust me, you'll be surprised what's out there. And I'm not the smartest, and I have a few things out on the interwebs, and I get some fun stuff, right? And I'm a fucking retard. You know what I mean? Like, there's way smarter people, so God only knows what there's, what's going on out there. So you just have to be, obviously, the moral of the story, be careful what you click on. Don't just click on anything and everything. But yeah, that's so yeah, so that's good to know. So you want to get more, stay on the blue team, dabble in the in the pen testing world. And so now you said you're studying, get into like some certification training and stuff like that, and like side projects and
Sure.
and stuff like that. So, and then we'll get into maybe the conferences, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
And so certifications, you're going for your Network Plus.
Yep.
And so where do you see fits, Devin, like from the certification perspective, like, CYSA Plus or Blue Team or PJPT or PMPT, OSCP, and all these other fucking certifications. So what's in the pipeline for you?
So I know I've got Network Plus and Security Plus. Those are paid for by the school, the college that I'm currently going to, and also CYSA Plus, Pen Test Plus. There's like SSCP is another one that's on there. Linux Fundamentals, ITIL. Those will all be certifications that I'll get going through the school. But outside of that, I do want to still get some pen testing certifications, PJPT, PNPT. I don't know if I'll go for like OSCP, but maybe like CRTO or something along those lines, like go down that route, just to kind of build that out. I still want to have like, and it's hard. It's like push, shove, kind of pull back and forth, because there's WGU is good. There's so much there's just so much to learn out there in this industry, and like I like both sides now that I've done some blue teaming stuff, as well as not really any, I would say, pen testing formally, other than like hack the box stuff and stuff like that. But being able to continue to get those certs as well, so I have like a I want to keep it well-rounded, and I want to kind of still be able to do both things, as stupid as that may sound with how much is going on there. And then talking to Jacob and Hannah and them over there at Dark Wolf, like that reverse engineering stuff's cool as shit too. And like I go down that rabbit hole too, where I'm like looking into that, and like it's just like, as everybody says, this place is, cybersecurity, I guess I should say, is just so deep with what you can do and what you can learn and where you can go with it. It's just, it's hard to keep up. Like, it's impossible to learn everything.
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, I hate the question, I really like, I love everyone, but I hate the question, how do I get into cyber? Right. And Heath Adams touches on this a lot. Like, not everyone, you can come to me and say, how do I get inside? Yeah, we have a general thing, you do this, do that. But the way I got into cyber is so different. You know what I mean? And I'm a different breed. I don't like to, I sound like a broken record, but it's true. Like, I never played video games. I grew up in the streets. You know what I mean? I didn't grow up with computers. So it's like, I got into this world by selling sneakers on eBay, and I got my fucking PayPal hacked. Right. So it's like, that's the way I came about it. If I never got my PayPal hacked, I would probably be doing network engineering still, because I really like that. So everyone's path, walks of life is different. So it's like, whatever works for you, just do it. Right. We have a great community. We have some guidance that can guide you, but like, don't be like the next person. You know what I mean? Because then you're going to have that fucking imposter syndrome, and like comparison. What do they say? Like, comparing someone's, is the worst thing, or whatever that saying is, like. So
don't compare yourself to others. Be your own person. Do what, and touch everything. Like I've been trying to do. Like, don't just jump in and say you got to do one thing or the other. Go and try some hack the box and stuff. They got those modules on Try Hack Me to do everything. Play around with a little bit of it, and if you get into an organization, as long as it's a cool organization, like, you're gonna get some organizations that just suck to work for. I'm lucky that I work for one that like asked me what I wanted to do, and they like try to help you get there. Like, we have quarterly meetings. I think it's every 3 months, where it's like, hey, what do you want to do? Like, how can we help you get there? And then we have follow-up meetings in between the next quarterly meeting to see how we're doing and getting to that goal. So if you're at an organization now and there's something you're interested in, or you think it might be cool, jump over there and give it a try. You don't have to stay with anything forever. Do something for a year, jump over to something else, do it for a year, bounce around, figure out what you like, but don't make yourself miserable trying to think you have to do one thing or the other, just because that's the in thing to do.
Yeah, no, facts. Like that's something like, like I really enjoy like the teaching aspect. I enjoy like giving back to the community and helping people, seeing people succeed really is a fulfilling thing for me. So like, and even like I, tell the owner of the company, right? Like I grew up with this kid, went to high school with him, and I'm so fucking proud of him. You know what I mean? Like it's like, holy shit, like this kid is fucking killing it. So anything is possible, right? Like everything and anything is possible. Like there's no single way of life. You just have to just get on your high horse and trial and error and just fucking kill it, So yeah, so that's that. I got a little choked up, but yeah, fucking love that kid. But because it's just awesome to see people like succeed. You know what I mean? Like just coming from somewhere that it's like, like that whole like started from the bottom. Now we're here. It's like you never know like who you're gonna run into in life. So please talk about your first job and how do you feel? Are you talking about me or Devin? Because Devin, this is pretty much
we're talking about it.
Yeah. So if you're asking me, are you asking me or Devin? OX bit it, whatever, Bito.
We're just gonna call him Bito.
Yeah. If you're talking about me, my first job, man, it's a long time ago. I was working, Pat. I was working for a company called Tag, the Answer Group. So they were a call center, and I was on the Gateway Computers account. And I started out with tech support, and that's when I realized I'm not meant for tech support, right? And I like helping people, but I don't like stupidity, right? Like, what do I mean by that? Like, I got calls when I was working on Gateway, and if there's anyone that knows what the Answer Group is down in South Florida, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But even if you did any tech support many years ago when there was CD-ROM drives, right? So I would get calls, and they're like, "Oh, my cup holder's not working," and I would be like, "What?" I would get these calls. Remember, I didn't work with computers before that. Literally, I got that job because 20 years ago, even like Fernando probably knows the Answer Group, because I think a few people that we went to school with, a lot of people went to that because they were paid like $16 an hour back then. So the calls that I would get is like, okay, like my cup holder's not working, like I was saying, and I'm like, I'm not sure what you're talking about, because to be honest, I didn't have a computer at home. You know what I mean? Like I never played with computers, so like. I'm like, I'm not sure. Hold on, let me see what you're talking about. And then I would go through their little, I guess, do you want to call them SOPs? Like going through their little documentation. And I'm like, oh, you're talking about your CD-ROM drive. So they would
they had a document for that. They had got asked that question before and had to create a document for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because people would put their coffee or whatever their drinks, like they would press the button, have the CD-ROM drive come out, and people would put their drinks on it. And after that, I was like, I was there for a while, like probably like 2 years, but and then I got onto a different account and I went to Hughes.net, and that's when I got into like the networking stuff. But yeah, that was my first job in IT. Not my first job ever, because I was an electrician with my uncle prior to working in IT. But that was my first job ever. And then it went up from there. Then I got into like a bench tech at this company called EdgeMed Solutions. That was an EMR company. Then, from there, like I worked there for a few years, and then I went to, INS and, many, many more companies from there. But yeah, that was my, that's why I knew, like, kudos to everyone that works help desk and answering calls, because it sucks. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of stupid people, and it's patience. And I don't have that. I'll be honest. I don't have that. Like, it's not in me to take phone calls and talk. And there's some people that have that. Kudos, not me. But
definitely gotta have good social skills for sure to talk to clients all day long.
Yeah, maybe it's about the social skills, but I think it's more about like I have social. I think.
Yeah, no, you do. And And I've heard you talk to just random people like that, and you do great. But like to add on to that, I guess I should say, like you said, the patience. You got to have a high tolerance.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've been on some calls with some people, even shadowing and even like listening in. There's some interesting people out there that don't know shit, that shouldn't be using a computer. But yeah, I'm like, damn, I thought I was stupid with computers. But yeah, so that's that. I don't know. I know that we're gonna have some questions, and we started
Yeah,
some.
I pinned
Yep.
some. Yep.
So the last question, then we'll get into some of those questions because we're about at 22 and the fucking Rangers are playing. So conferences, right? We
Yeah.
went to a few conferences together, and it was fun hanging out, coming
That was a
home.
blast.
And we went to Hack Space Con, we went to B-Side Tampa, and hopefully we get on maybe 2 or 3 more before the end of the year. So what has your experience been with the whole hacking conferences, and what do you have planned for the rest of the year for those folks that want to know what Big D is about?
Yeah. So yeah, we went to B-Sides Tampa and then Hack SpaceCon. Both were great. Had some great talks there. There's I would highly recommend anybody that has one anywhere that they can get to close by, or if you can travel and get to a bigger one, go to that. The big like Hack SpaceCon was my first, I guess I would say, bigger conference, because I think it's more, they have people come from all over the place to go to that one, not like DEF CON or anything, but definitely bigger than like a normal B-Sides. Or more out of state people coming in. There's some great talks. You're always going to learn something new. I learned a lot. It's going to be relevant to the industry. Again, I learned a lot of stuff, about teams and vulnerabilities and stuff like that in there. Some reverse engineering side of things, some social engineering stuff there, and like training and they just the amount of content that you can take in, it's almost overwhelming. Like you look at those calendars, you're like, I want to do this, and this. Well, these 3 overlap, so it's hard. So if you can do it, definitely try to look at it and plan it out and know which ones you want to go to so you can hit those up. But yeah, they're great. Then I have kind of a more MSP focused one coming up next month, which is the IT Nation Secure in Orlando. I haven't been to one that's more that side of things. It's more been like, the hack and sack and red team focused, or, with some blue team. I guess they have a little bit of everything in there, but they're more red team focused, I would say, most of the big security conferences. But yeah, so I have that one. I'm interested to see how it's going to turn out, because it's like kind of, ConnectWise is who puts that on. So it's like vendor managed, which will be a little bit different. Something I've never really been to. It's all been B-Sides and other conferences like that. And then the one I'm really looking forward to is DEF CON in August. So that one's definitely on the books. And I would really, October is Wild West Hacking Fest there in Deadwood. And that's another one I'd like to make it to. If I can make it to all 3 of those. Also, there is one local one that's like an hour away from me that I'll probably hit in September, just because it's right down the road. So yeah, so at least 3, hopefully 4. We'll see. But
cool.
Yeah, I have fun. Good networking too. Meet a lot of cool people. Of cool people, and learn a lot just by chatting with them. Not even going to any of the talks that they have there, but just talking to people and learning, how they're remediating different things or what they're running to out in the wild, and getting a different person's perspective on it.
Cool. All right, so we have about 15 minutes, and yeah, if you want to throw some questions up, let's see which really.
Here's one for both of us. We'll just start at the top here.
Go for it. Question for both of you. My youngest son is debating whether or not to take cybersecurity electives in high school. So, kudos to your son, man. I'm lucky I went to high school, but yeah. So I think if that's a niche, one thing, if you have kids out there, never force them to do something, or never force them to be like you, right?
100%.
Just let them do their thing. If he is tinkering with computers already, if he's a nerd, if he likes that shit, yeah, man, just give him the option. If it's if he's intrigued with it, absolutely. And Rob, a lot of people, myself. So like, there's a lot of people that can support that. But yeah, I think to answer your question, yeah, it's absolutely worth it. If he's interested, don't be like, oh, do this because of the industry is booming in this world. Because your kid's 16, 17, I don't know how old he is. If he's in high school, 14 to 16 or 17, maybe when he gets to college, maybe when he's done with college, fucking cybersecurity is going to be all ChatGPT, right? So you never, maybe not, but you get what I'm saying. Like the technologies that's today is probably going to be so different in the next 4 to 6 years. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think what's even better about say him having a possible interest in it and being able to jump into a free little elective there in school is like that'll let him know if that's something he actually wants to do too. Instead of getting into college, getting started on it, and 2 years in, finding out, oh, this isn't what I'm interested in, and then having to completely change and shift and go into something different. He'll know pretty quick once you get in there because it's a lot. It can be overwhelming, trying to learn all that stuff. And I don't know what the curriculum is like for the elective or how deep they go or anything like that. But at least it'll give him that baseline to know if this is something he wants to pursue. But yeah, I mean, it's free. Do it if he wants to.
Exactly. All right, cool. That's number one. I just said F because the Rangers are losing. But let's see what's the next one. First year in second, you wonder how many you need to spend before you start looking to move up. See, that's another question. It's hard to answer because everyone has like Devin, for an example. If he asked me that question, right? Oh, I'm working for this company. I want to get into cyber. How long did it take? He moved up from a level 1 to level 2 to what he's doing now in the first 6 months of his career, right? So he didn't have to wait. He's not even there a year. He's almost there a year, right? So if he asked me that question, listen to me, then he's holding himself back, right? 6 months. So I think just feel out wherever you're at and just go with your intuition. That's pretty much what I'm going to say. Because if I say, yeah, wait a year, I might be wrong. You know what I mean? Like what I think and what you do can be two different things. So that's just my advice.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And it also depends on, not everybody picks things up and learns and has the opportunity to get hands on with some of this stuff to be able to move up in their career. It depends on where you work, what kind of openings they have there. Do you want to leave that company? Do you want to try to move out and go somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that, I got lucky with where I'm at here. There was a need for the position that I'm in now. It was opening up. We were expanding rapidly. There's a lot of need for it. I offered up, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm willing to try whatever I can. They were happy with the outcome of the little projects that they gave me, and those projects just kind of grew. So the main thing would be I would just you're there a year. Start reaching out to whoever your boss is or your bosses, wherever you need to go, and ask them if you could start doing other stuff, if you could start moving into other things. People like seeing that you're hungry and want to learn and eager and have a goal. They should be talking with you about that as well. I believe from being a boss and a manager in a previous job, I think it's important to talk to each of your employees, whoever your delegates are, people below you, and understanding what they want and where they want to go and trying to help them get there and communicating that with them. So, yeah, I mean, after being there for a year, I would say you can absolutely move up. I don't know. I know they have different tiers. If you're in like a SOC type position, like a tier 1 SOC, just like help desk, they have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and you're doing different things at those. With being there for a year, I don't see why there isn't any reason that you could move into the next position. It's just, the sky's the limit. The ball's in your court.
Exactly. All right, cool. So we got, what you said, 3 or 4 more?
Yeah, it looks like 3.
Wasn't finding the first thing. I finished my Security Plus in December. I have 5 years help desk for an MSP and one company. What do I do? Oh man. So what is your ultimate goal? So if your goal is to work in find your first InfoSec job. Yeah. Okay. So you want to get your first InfoSec job. You have your Security Plus from December. Kudos for that. Good job. And then you have, you have 5 years of support in MSP. And maybe you meant in one company. So if you're still at an MSP for 5 years and you got your Security Plus, see if that company is, all right, they're an MSP, but are they doing security services?
Yes, for sure.
Are they offering security services? And security services and the security stack is so broad, right? Security is not just hacking, right? Or setting, putting in a SIM solution, right? There's SecOps, there's security engineering, there's DevOps, there's yeah, DevSecOps, and that's more into the APIs and all that, integrate in whatever the hell that word is, like the connectings of like Azure and getting into that world. But yeah, just see if they have some kind of opening in the cyber side, or if they don't even have a cyber side, you can be that first person to throw that up there and say, hey, like, let's try to expand. Maybe you're losing a lot of money. There's a lot of money on the table in this world. Maybe, we can utilize the clients that we currently have and offer them a security stack. And yeah, you can give that a jingle.
100%. That's exactly what I would say. You're at an MSP. If there's no one doing it, you can absolutely jump in and grab that bull by the horns, because they if they're not doing any security services, they need to be. I mean, hands down, they got to be doing something. They got to have some type of antivirus. Maybe you can just jump in and manage that. Hey, I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to look into everything that's going on here, whatever it may be. I'd say I want to manage that. That's getting your foot in the door in InfoSec. Anything that's security. But I agree with Pat and 100%.
Yeah. And why all beginners get into cybersecurity go just for office? I think because that's the hot, the sexy thing, right? That's the thing. I think people want to get into the offensive side because it's breaking into stuff, it's hacking, and it's like, it is like the fun stuff. But people, for an example, like John Hammond, right? Everyone probably knows John, right? He never worked as a pen tester or an offensive security ever in his career, right? Like, he's known as a malware guy, right? Like, he's fucking smart as shit. Yeah, he knows a lot. But like, I remember having him on, like, he never worked as a pen tester, even though he has every fucking certification in the book from OffSec and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But he's not a pen tester, right? So he didn't, he's a prime example. He took the malware analysis route. He's going into, malware stuff and dissecting that stuff more. And that's pretty much more on the blue team side, detecting and defending against a lot of organizations. Yeah,
threat hunting. He does a lot of threat hunting.
Yeah. So, and so like, he's an example of the total opposite. He didn't go into the offensive side. So, but I think to answer that.
It's just because. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's just because a lot of people don't know. Like, that's what they hear when they think of when they think of security and hacking. They think of the offensive side. That's the first thing that comes to mind. That's the first thing that's portrayed when you think of cybersecurity. It's, oh, someone's hacking into my shit.
Yeah, Mr. Robot.
Exactly, and not everybody gets like a lot of people end up liking that, but once they really get into the industry, they find that, oh, I like digging into this shit. I like going out on the dark web and looking through all these Tor sites and seeing what they're cooking up over here, so I can help defend against it and stuff like that too. I hear, just from the short amount of time I've been researching this, I hear a lot more people say, oh, I started wanting to go into offensive because that's what everybody wants to do, but by the time I got there, I found I like this better. And they're over here doing malware analysis. Yeah,
look at Jacob.
Exactly. Yep, 100%. He loves that shit.
Yeah, he gets into reverse engineering and all that shit, and he speaks Chinese. But he thought it was gonna be sexy to get into the hacking. Got his PMPT, and he's like, I don't want to be a pen tester. He wants to be more security engineering and doing his fucking RE stuff. All right, so we have a few more minutes. We have a couple more questions. Looks like there's a second security.
Oh, network security engineer.
Yeah. So network security engineer. Yeah, that's something that would, Isaac. Yeah, network security engineer would be something like along the lines of doing the firewall stuff, doing endpoint protection, doing Defender, doing EDR, and getting into that stuff and tinkering with some pen testing and some hacking stuff too, just so even maybe some malware stuff, so how malware is working on a machine, and yeah, we can do some stuff. We can do some malware stuff, and I can cook up some malware and send it to you.
Yeah, I agree. Network security engineer. That's exactly what you're talking about there. It combines the best of both worlds, understanding IPS and IDS, intrusion detection systems, and intrusion prevention systems, configuring all that stuff. Looking into some of the new solutions too, like SASE,
Yep.
with their, that type of stuff, and configuring, just like Pat said, configuring endpoints, configuring anything that's going to be looking at the network and monitoring it, doing the security for switches and firewalls. There it is.
There he is, the main man of the hour,
There he is.
So yeah, we'll get to Kevin in a sec. So what is the last one? I think it was like what certification or do I have in the back? I thought I saw one like that. But how did you get into network engineering? Oh, that's a good question. So my good old friend Keith Barker. Yeah, Keith Barker, the best trainer from CBT Nuggets. So Echo 5000, yeah, fucking Echo. And that's an inside joke. So yeah. So fucking Kev. But so I was doing system engineering, right? I was doing VMware and Windows stuff for about 8 years or 7 years, from about maybe 6 years, and then I stumbled upon like the CCNA. I got the CCNA from a local PC professor. The name of the school is PC professor, and once I was in the CCNA program, like I came across CBT Nuggets. So this was when Jeremy Chara and Keith Barker did CCNP training, and the way Keith explained things, and I remember I'm like, I want to do the CCNP, but I don't know if I'm smart enough. I literally said that. I'm like, this is so difficult. It ended up being way easier than Microsoft. The reason being, I like to use this example. If you're configuring a route, for an example, or if you're doing like an VLAN routing or whatever you're doing, and if you do, ping and there's no packets, and you do like whatever, an analysis or packet capture or whatever, and it's going to show you. If you get a blue screen in Windows, it doesn't tell you shit. It just says memory dump with a whole bunch of X's and zeros and whatever. So Windows is a lot harder. People don't realize that than network engineering, because networking, you're just allowing, you're just routing traffic. So you just have to, people think it's a lot harder, but it's not, and that's how I got into network engineering. And while I was a network engineer, I still did system engineering. And then I got my PayPal hacked. And that's what intrigued me when I was an undergrad to get into this world of cyber. So, so Kevin came over, so is Devin, and we did a little hacking lab in my house. And and Kevin, I got to say this, Kev, like if you're still on, dude, like this dude
is ruthless, relentless.
This kid is called fucking Kev the Pacer, right? This dude will give you fucking. This kid went from my kitchen to my living room to my kitchen 6 million times, right? No joke. The fucking kid went for hours.
Minimum.
But I never seen, because Kevin and I, we talk, we shoot the shit every day, but we never actually hung out, right? Because he's in New York and I'm down here. But when we got this hacking lab, this Wi-Fi hacking lab, I never seen the kid sit down for so long. He didn't say anything about taking his walks. He needs to go fucking play pool, kick rocks, or whatever the fucking kid does out there, right? So he sat on my couch for 3 hours?
Probably.
There was some help that we did, but I have to say, Kevin, kudos, dude. That shows that when you're dedicated, you want to learn something, you want to understand something, you're doing it.
For sure.
You fucking did it. So thumbs up. I know I know I bust your balls probably every day, but man, keep it up. And whatever you're doing now at the company, kudos. I wish you nothing but the best there. Can't wait to have you on to talk about what you're doing. And we're almost at the top of the hour. Any other questions? I know like someone asked what certification did I have, or
I was trying to look for that a minute ago.
Oh, this one. So what is the certification behind you? Which one? I have a few. These are my EC Console certifications. I have the CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker, on one, Certified Hacking Forensics Investigator, CHFI, ECSA, and then the LPT, Licensed Penetration Tester. That's the ones I have behind me. Those aren't the ones those aren't just the ones I have. I have, a few more, but the certifications at the end of the day just validate that you can pass an exam, that you're diligent enough to study for something. Doesn't prove that you know much. Just remember that. I really, And that's what I like about the cybersecurity certifications versus like Microsoft and Cisco. And like when you get to CCIE, that's a different. But when you do like CCNA, you can cram that, right? You can cram in you can go study a test king, a test dump, or whatever, and you
Same
can
with
just
Network Plus or Security Plus.
yeah.
Yep.
So if you, first of all, I don't condone that, but
Right.
but because when you really tested, but if you did, like, for an example, I did my VCP and VCAP, right? VMware Professional, VMware Certified, I think Advanced Professional, whatever it is, and the Data Center Virtualization, DCV. I can configure VMware. I can do all the vSANs. I can do all that stuff, but I don't do it every single day, right? So yes, I have an ESXi server behind me, just only one, so it's not running vCenter. It's not doing DIR or HA or any of that stuff. It's not connected to to a SAN or doing, Ether channel or whatever. But if someone threw me into it, I'll gravitate to it because I know how to navigate it. I did my VCP in version 6.5, and I think now they're up to almost version 8 or something.
I think they are at 8.
Yeah, and kudos to VMware for doing, VMware Workstation Pro for free for private or personal use. But that's the certifications behind me. But I do have quite a few. If you want to, follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see. I don't like to talk about my cert.
They're not even all on LinkedIn. I've seen his certifications. You walk around this dude's house, he's like a hoarder of certifications. You start knocking them over if you set your drink down on a cabinet or whatever.
I will say I've taken over 100 exams. I will say that, but that doesn't mean I know everything, right? Right. I do forget. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, sure. It's just like with anything. You can't learn and remember everything unless you're touching, like you said, unless you're putting your hands on the keyboard on that system every single day or at least once a week. There's no way you're going to remember it.
Yeah. And I'll end it with this, right? Like when I did my SonicWall certification, so I think it's called SonicWall Security Certified or SonicWall. I mean, not SonicWall, it's Checkpoint. Right, my checkpoint cert, CCSA, I think it's called, or CSSA, whatever it is, Checkpoint Securities Administrator, whatever. I knew Checkpoint pretty well, right? I haven't touched it since I was at the Jewish Fed, so it's like 5 years or 6 years, no, maybe even longer, right? And when I did this little mini because I did this Checkpoint playlist on my YouTube channel because I wanted to test to see how much I remembered, and I was doing a side project for a friend that had a Checkpoint firewall. And I was like, okay, but that's behind the scenes. So I was like, okay, I want to see if I really remember, all the stuff that I learned when I was digging into it. And it came back pretty quick. But I'm not thinking about that every day, right? I'm not checkpoint in my head all day, or Azure, or this. Maybe I'm like Kali, Bloodhound. But if I go touch a SonicWall for 2 months, and if I'm not touching anything with those Kali tools, which I'll never stop touching them because I'll touch them every day. Like, the moral of the story is, like, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So don't think because I have 6 million certifications, I know it all. No, I just knew it when I needed to do it. And I learned it in that specific moment because I needed to, whatever. I learned it because whatever the case may be. And, you forget it. Just like, there's a trainer out there. I'm not going to put that guy on blast. He said every time he's training, he learns it to teach it, and then he forgets it. And I'm like, oh, that's true, because I do the same shit. Like, sometimes I have to go back to my video to learn or relearn what I was teaching because I don't do it every day. So I pretty much use my YouTube as an archive fucking KB. But
yeah. I use your YouTube as an archive KB. So
yeah. So I learned by learning, by teaching as well. So yeah, I just want to wrap that up. And it's 8:04. Let's see how the range is doing. It's the second period has started, so I want to get going. So thank you so much. How did you so just go to BugCrowd or HackerOne or all those places. But if anyone has any questions after, join my Discord, hit me up on, however you want to get a hold of me. We can set up a call or anything like that. But thank you so much. Thanks, Devin. See you tomorrow. And much love for everyone else. Thank you so much.